Good day everyone. We are the second group and we are going to tell you more, discuss to you more about how can we produce an inclusive culture. This is lesson 2, producing inclusive cultures. In this chapter, we are going to delve more about how can we determine how can we associate Cotter's model of change in creating school inclusive policies or to determine the UNESCO's policy on this. We have these objectives provided in the module. We have first to evaluate a school's existing policy of inclusive education using PMR, determine the UNESCO's policy on the inclusive education, and lastly, associate Cotter's model of change in creating school inclusive policies.
Good day everybody, I am Angelica Tesoro Silvestre and today we are going to discuss lesson 2 entitled Producing Inclusive Cultures. As educators, students, and community members, we must recognize that inclusion is a right and not a privilege. Every learner deserves an equal opportunity to thrive regardless of their backgrounds or abilities. According to UNESCO 2017, inclusive education is the process of building education systems that welcome and support all kinds of learners. Education is a powerful tool. It is a fundamental human right that helps people escape poverty, reduce inequality, and contribute to sustainable development. Beyond academics, education is a stepping stone to securing other essential human rights. And an inclusive school should ensure a variety of teaching and learning methods that cater to all students, and an individualized support to address each learner's unique needs. At the heart of inclusive education is the rights-based education model. This model views education as both a moral and legal right. It ensures that every child receives quality education while respecting their dignity and promoting their development. Now, rights-based education model promotes child protection, students' governance and participation, health and nutrition, and gender sensitivity. Now, child protection means a safe and secure environment for every student. And student governance and participation means empowering learners to be active contributors in school decisions. And third is health and nutrition, addressing students' physical and mental well-being to create a positive learning environment. And last is gender sensitivity. It is breaking barriers to ensure gender equality in education. And there are also 3 dimensions of rights-based education: the access to education, quality education, and respect in the learning environment. The right to access education it means ensuring every child can attend schools. And second is right to quality education. It is delivering meaningful and effective learning. And last is right to respect in the learning environment. It includes upholding the identity, dignity, and voices of all learners while protecting them from violence or discrimination. Now, inclusive education is a shared responsibility and it relies on 4 essential pillars: the teachers, head teachers, families, and communities. Teachers, as educators, we must adopt inclusive teaching practices and adapt to the needs of diverse learners. And head teachers, school leaders must foster an inclusive vision and provide support for implementation. And third is the families. Parents and guardians are key partners in creative, inclusive environments. And fourth is the communities. Collaboration with the broader community strengthens support for inclusion beyond the classroom. Inclusive education ensures that all children, regardless of their ability, background, or identity, have the chance to grow and succeed together. As future educators or as educators, it is our responsibility to create a classroom where every student feels valued, respected, and supported. Remember, inclusion doesn't benefit individuals. It strengthens the entire learning community. When schools, families, and communities work together, we can build a more inclusive and equitable future for all. And that would be for my report. Thank you so much for listening.
Good day, everyone. I am Krisna Mae and I will be the second reporter for the group 2. My topic is all about the UNESCO policy on inclusive education. Before we dig deeper into the UNESCO policy when it comes to inclusive education, let us first define what is UNESCO, the inclusive education, and the vision of the UNESCO, which UNESCO stands for the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. UNESCO also promotes or contributes to peace and security by promoting international cooperation in education, sciences, culture, communication, and information. UNESCO also promotes a sharing of knowledge. The UNESCO, it is specialized by the agency of UN or the United Nations. It is more focusing about promoting peace and security through international cooperation in education, science, culture, and communication. Now let us proceed to the vision of the UNESCO. Now, when we say vision, it is referring to the ability in predicting what would be the possible effect or achievement in the future of these policies. Now, the vision of UNESCO more focusing about to work to ensure that every child and every citizen has an equal access to education by promoting cultural heritage and the equal dignity of all cultures. The UNESCO is promoting a vision that every learners all over the world can access an equal education and learning regardless of what their socioeconomics or what their lifestyle came from or their cultures. Everyone should access an equal education. That is one of the main goal of UNESCO in order to achieve the effectiveness of inclusive education all over the world. Define what is this inclusive education. I know this word is not new to us. We already tackling about this inclusive education or past lesson, but I will give a overview what is inclusive education. Inclusive education, it is an educational system that provide equal access to learning opportunities for all students regardless of their abilities, requirements, or background, which means that inclusive education referring to educational system that is um, that is how the educational system providing an equal education to all the student or learners all over the world regardless of what their abilities is or their backgrounds. When we say backgrounds, it is referring to the socioeconomics or the lifestyle of the learners. Now, inclusive education, it is ensuring that all student has access to appropriate teaching, curriculum, and school building and etc. Which means that inclusive education, it is not just focusing about the differences or the differences of the learners, but also it is focusing how the school giving the equal opportunities to all learners when it comes to teaching, curriculum, and school building, that everyone can go to library equally without discrimination. Do the teacher teach equal to the student regardless of their abilities, and thus the curriculum include all the different learning strategies or learning abilities of the students. Let's proceed to the policy of UNESCO on inclusive education. When we say policy, it is referring to guidelines or the rules that be guided for every school all over the world in order for them to evaluate if they are implementing in inclusive education in their country or in different schools. Now, the first we have here a checklist for us to be guided in order for us to know if our school really implemented or uh, if nag-follow ba jud tayo sa inclusive education. Now, the first checklist here is the checklist on attitudinal change. We have here a different questions, but I will only pick two questions for us to evaluate just what I said. We are going to just recapping the question. The first question I choose is, have awareness program been launched to support inclusive education? I will give an example here where I graduated in elementary, which is in MLGR. This checklist, I can say that um, our school being implemented this kind because we have different meetings that is lunch in order for the parents, the teachers, the our classmates to be aware that everyone is welcome regardless of what our abilities and socioeconomics lives or the lifestyle that we have. The second question is, inclusive education seen as an essential factors economic and social development. Also, this question is being checked in where I graduated in elementary because inclusivity in education, as I can say that it is a very important factors in economic and social development because our schools implementing that everyone is welcome regardless of the abilities that we have, that the lifestyle that we are all welcome as long as we are longing to learn more and to develop our learning. The second checklist is for the checklist of inclusive curricula. I have here two questions that being chosen different questions that being flashed in our PPT. The first question is that, is the curriculum inclusive to all children? These questions emphasize that does the curriculum including all the students or regardless of their abilities, their differences, does the curriculum including all the teaching strategies or the learning strategies of the student? That and this question I can say that it is checked way back where I graduated because all of the teachers are very approachable when it comes to how can you learn, where do you part is you it's hard for you. That is how the inclusivity of the school being implemented way back then. The second questions are, the program's learning materials and teaching method well adapted and relevant to the lives of youth and adult. This question is also checked when it comes to inclusivity in education way back where I graduated because the learning materials that our teachers use way back then, they including those learners who have visual, farsighted, nearsighted, they are using different strategies for them to learn equally. That is how the inclusivity of education under this question are schools being implemented. The third checklist is that checklist on teachers and the learning environment. I also going to choose a two question from a different questions that being flashed in our PPT. The first question that I choose are, the learning environment are safe and healthy. These questions, I know that every school is safe and healthy because we have a security guard in order for us to ensuring our security from the outsiders, and also healthy because we have a clinic, school clinic, for us to ask for medicine if we get sick, and so on and so forth. The second question that I choose is, do materials cater all the needs of the learning with learning difficulties? The answer is yes. As you can see that we have a different rampant technology today, and that technology, we are using that in order for us to teach, or for in order for the teacher to teach all the learners with different learning difficulties such as visual, hearing. We are going to use the different technologies or instructional materials for us to give knowledge to everyone. And that's it for my report, and I hope you gain something about my discussion. And that would be all. Once again, this is Krisna Ocdenaria, the second reporter.
Now let's proceed to the Cotter's model for change. By the way, I am Allena Jyn O Rimando. I will present to you the steps 1, 2, 3 of this model. What is Cotter's model for change? Well, it is an 8-step process developed by John Cotter, a professor of leadership at Harvard Business School. He created this practical framework while consulting hundreds of organizations. He observed endless difficulties associated with change efforts, and with that, he distilled their common theme. The first step is create urgency. Change is not possible if stakeholders, staffs, or educators do not have a sense of urgency. This is the stage where leaders establish not just the want for change, but also the need for change. Do your people believe the status quo is unacceptable? Do they really feel a sense of urgency? The school leader should introduce the change to the people involved, or the change, or the subject for change, so that they can adjust rationally and emotionally. Now here's an example. Ms. Lawrence highlights the following to create a sense of urgency in improving the inclusivity of Central Middle School. First, reading and discipline trends, the director's concern, potential failure to meet AYP or adequate yearly progress, her experience with a former student, insights from another school, surveys 20 of the school's 36 teachers. Now, the reactions of her staff allows her to conclude that a sense of urgency thus exists. She decides to move forward with creating an inclusive school environment. Step 2. Put a team together. Who is pushing this change? Leaders must ensure that they have a guiding team who's as passionate as they are about the vision, so that the change will not only be led by 1 or 2 individuals. Leadership teams should be comprised of a range of skills and a range of experience, because not all leaders are expert in all fields. With this, there will be an effective teamwork and they can achieve the desired outcome. We have here an example for step 2. Since Ms. Lawrence already established a sense of urgency about the need for change, she must create a team to help her. After a while, after doing research and knowing her staffs, the teachers in the school, Her chosen team members represent the diversity of the school. Longevity at the school. They respect school personnel. They have natural leadership abilities and good data skills. Afterwards, she holds several meetings so that everyone can have a chance to learn how to work as a team. Step 3. Create a vision for change. This is the stage where you need to develop a vision. When people see for themselves what you are trying to achieve, a change of direction will make more sense. The vision should be guided by a vision statement, where it is focused, challenging, specific, achievable, realistic, measurable, and subject to refinement. This is the vision of Miss Lawrence and her team. The table shows the vision statement, the data they already have, and the data they need to collect in order to measure their vision statement. The vision of Central Middle School is to provide an inclusive learning environment where everyone in the school succeeds every day. Now this is the new environment, the new inclusive environment for students and teaching personnels. The Kotter's model for change is a tool to reinvent schools. With the help of this model, the inclusive school environment is possible. The steps 1 to 3 that I explained earlier, this can be used by educators if they want to prepare so that they can have an inclusive school.
Hello everyone, I am Shelou Monares, and now I'm going to discuss to you about the steps 4 to 6, the guide on how to implement the change by Coulter 1996. Since we already discussed about the steps 1 to 3, now let's move on to steps 4 to 6. Now, the step 4 is communicate the vision. What does it mean, communicate the vision? Communicate the vision is establishing a shared sense of the desired future that can motivate and coordinate stakeholders toward transformative action, according to Coulter 1996. When we say communicate the vision, it is like planning ahead of time. And in order for that plan to be successfully implemented, then those plans should be communicated to the stakeholders, to the teachers, to the staff, and other people that can be a great help when it comes to our plans. In order for us to have an inclusive environment, in order for us to have an inclusive school for learners. And through that, if our plan will be communicated, our vision will be communicated to the stakeholders, then there's a huge possibility that we can suffice the needs of those special needs learners to have an inclusive environment for them to be comfortable, and that we can give them a sufficient and comfortable environment for their learning, and so as a comfortable place for teaching to those teachers and faculties and staff. That is the step 4, communicate the vision. An example of communicate the vision is the guiding team could hold a school-wide assembly to share the vision of creating an inclusive school environment. They could use visuals, stories, and testimonials to make the vision relatable and inspiring. As what I have said earlier, communicate the vision is like planning and as well as sharing the vision to the other people or the stakeholders in order for us to create an inclusive environment or inclusive school for our special needs learners. And through that, the planners or the people behind the plan or the vision can use the visual stories in order for those stakeholders or what we call that sponsors to they can be inspired to share their what we call this monies whatsoever that could help in building our schools, our inclusive schools for our learners. And that is communicate the vision. And now this step 5, which is enable action. After we communicate the vision, after we plan our visions, then the next step is to enable action. Since we already plan, we communicate the vision with the stakeholders or the sponsors, then we can now, school leaders can empower educators to take action by being aware of and removing as many implementation barriers as possible. At this time, school leaders or the teachers can empower by taking the action. Since we already have our plan, then it's time for us to take an action. And through that, before we can take our actions, there are possible obstacles that could hinder our actions or our planning. And that is the short time or short time and the short budget as well, because we can't really say that all those stakeholders, all those sponsors will really help us, because there are people will decline and not help. So there's a possibility that it could be a barrier to our plans, and because of that we cannot really enable an action since there's a barrier. And through this step number 5, the school leaders or the planner should plan ahead of time on how to control those barriers as possible in order for us to stop or control the possible barriers that we could encounter in implementing or before we take those actions. An example of enable action is the guiding team model, or the school leaders could provide teachers with training on inclusive teaching practices and strategies. They could also create a resource library with materials and tools that support inclusive teaching for guidance and avoidance of barriers. Through this, the leaders or the guiding team could create or provide teachers with training on inclusive teaching in order for them to practice and have their strategies in order for them to avoid these possible barriers for a smooth learning, for a smooth transactions. And for a smooth ways, they could also create a resource library with materials and tools that support inclusive teaching. And those resources, not just could help the teachers, but for the learners as well. The last step, the step 6, to ensure short-term wins. When we say ensure short-term wins, it is short-term wins consistent with creating an inclusive school environment can be stepping stones to more significant opportunities and success. Ensure short-term wins is like celebrating small success, small gatherings for a significant opportunities to come. And no matter what no matter how short or small those success, then those teachers, those guiding teams should at least celebrate or ensure short-term wins. For what we call this um, celebration for small wins, and also having an environment that the teachers, the staff could feel a sense of belonging. And for more plannings, for more visions, for more actions to come. And that is to ensure short term wins. An example of the ensure short term wins is when progress reaches the criteria stated in the action plan, the team should take time to celebrate, as what I have said earlier. Acknowledging school personnel's hard work and success is crucial to maintaining momentum for the long-term commitment of creating an inclusive environment. As what I have said, no matter how short, no matter how small those winnings, then everyone should celebrate, should take time to celebrate and acknowledge each and everyone's hard work. And because of that, it it creates an inclusive environment not just for the students but as well as the teachers, the stakeholders, and every personnel of those who planned and took an action. Those guides in implementing the change involves communicating the vision to stakeholders within the school and outside the school, making discussions clear and simple, and using various communication methods. School leaders or those planners should remove implementation barriers by using self-assessment tools to evaluate current inclusiveness and identify strengths and opportunities for growth. Through that, when we remove those implementation barriers, then there's a smooth transactions, smooth implementations of those visions or plans. And those short-term wins can be achieved by engaging more stakeholders, sponsors, monitoring progress, and rewarding stakeholders as they accomplish short-term goals. And we must not forget that in every small wins or short-term wins, we should take time to celebrate. Celebrate. Those stakeholders, those working personals should celebrate in order for them to grasp another opportunities and success within the inclusive environment. And lastly, they should acknowledge the hard work and success of each and everyone in creating an inclusive environment because they pour their hard works for them to have a successful implementations of, of and creating those plans in order for them to have an inclusive environment for the special needs learners to facilitate the learning of those learners. And that's for my report. I hope you learned something. And this is me, Shelou Monares, and thank you.
Good day everyone, my name is Leocil A. Maulingan and today I'm gonna discuss the 7 and 8 step of Cotter's model of changes. So the step 7 is build on change. The leadership terms reflect on what is and is not working and use this information to adjust the improvement plan. At this stage, the team also expand by providing professional learning opportunities to the stakeholders and staff. Each success provides the opportunity to build on what is right and identify what we can do to improve. So this is the example of the things we can do. First, after every win, analyze what went right and what we need to improve. Second, set a goal to continue building on the momentum you've achieved. After achieving some initial success, it is crucial to keep the momentum going. Here is the example. First, avoid complacency. After every wins, there can be a tendency to relax. It is important to keep pushing for further improvements rather than settling for what has already been achieved. Second is encourage continuously improvement. Foster an environment where going changes are accepted and encouraged. This means creating a culture that valued innovation and adaptability. Last is communication effectively. Keep communication open and frequent. Share success, lesson learned, and future plans to maintain enthusiasm and commitment among all stockholders and staff. In summary, building on change is about building on initial success to create sustainable change environment. By avoiding complacency, involving stockholders, and embedding change into culture, it can ensure that their transformation effort can lead to lasting improvement. So here we go on step number 8, make it part of the culture. According to Gatdula's 1996, new approach is usually sink into culture only after it is obvious that they work are superior to old method. Terms ensure that change into documents that guide the school processes and procedures. Cultural changes is more likely occur when the positive results are achieved. This includes existing staff and new leaders who are brought in, talk about the progress every change they get, create plans to replace key leaders as they move on. They will help ensure that their legacy is not lost or forgotten. So as a change leaders, this is all about your continuously effort to ensure that the change is seen in every aspect of your organization, to embed inclusive education practice into fabric of the school culture as they become norms. So integrated into policies, ensure that all school policies of commitment to inclusivity, to communication values, consistently to communicate the importance of inclusivity through meetings and school events. Make sure that everyone understand why these changes matter. Last is leadership commitment. Leaders should model inclusivity behavior and supportive initiatives to promote this inclusivity. Their commitment sets the tone of entire organization.
Good day everyone, I am Ava S Gatdula, and for today I am going to tell you further more about inclusive culture and how can you create an inclusive culture inside and outside your classroom. So there are some useful ways that are retrieved from Inclusion Lab. The first tip that we got here is to create a welcoming classroom community. From the word welcoming, in our own, even in our own perspective, welcoming really starts from the way we greet, the way we approach someone, the way we interact with them, or are we interacting with them in a friendly manner, with a polite expressions, or making them feel like they are really an important person, like that. Not totally like an important person, but just by telling hi, good morning, how are you. Those are just simple expressions in which we can show that we really welcome them and we really value them. Now, there are tips here, 3 tips for us to create a welcoming classroom community. First is to create a welcoming classroom environment in which all students feel like valued members. The reason why we also create a welcoming classroom community is for them to feel like they are welcome and they really belong in that specific area, or like they feel like I really belong here. And even though even though they're not students or like another people, you can invite them. You can invite another student, a new student, alongside with their parents or their guardians or their friends to have a visit in the school or to have a classroom visit. By that, they can feel that even though we do not belong here, or even though like we're just a visitor, we can feel that they are welcome there inside by telling them, good morning, welcome to this classroom, you can use our facility, you can also join us, and you can observe, you can play with our playground. And in that simple manner, they really appreciate that, because even in our own perspective, we can appreciate someone telling us good morning, hi, how may I help you, attaining to our needs, right? Attaining to feeling entertained, not to be shy. And also, if possible, inside the classroom, you can assign some students a desk of their own with their name being personalized. For example, like putting their names, Allena, Angelica, for them to be to feel like I really belong inside this classroom. This is my chair. This is my teacher really valued me for being here. Okay, like just those simple manner can add up to it. We have here 10 ways to create a welcoming classroom for us to be equipped enough, with geared enough to know really how. So there are 10 ways here. I will just discuss some of it, since this is just additional information about the about the tips. Okay. Now first, let families get to know you outside the classroom. Even outside the classroom, the families of your students, or even not your students but other families, you can get to know them, you can get to interact with them. It's such an honor with them that you are really welcoming them to be part of your community. Now make lesson plans around your students' interests and learning style. As teachers, we should create lesson plans that will help students not just to enhance their learning, but also to feel like they are being appreciated, not just by choosing those students who excel in our subjects, but letting them all, if possible, letting them all answer with our work questions, with our activities, so that they can feel like they're not being left out, like they will not feel that they are lesser people, right? We should always think of better activities for them to be engaged. All of them will be engaged and interact with your activities. The third is think about your personality when planning classroom activities. So as your personality as teacher, if you're being friendly, if you're being an active and jolly personality, then you can think about that, how you could enhance that, how you could use that personality to plan the classroom activities, because it feels like you're more comfortable with it than choosing things that are not in your personality, right? Decorate the classroom with welcoming messages and themes. As we can observe in our classrooms, right, there are welcome to grade 4 Makapagal, you are welcome here, like there are a lot of messages. Even when you walk through the doorstep, you could already see the messages, heartwarming welcome messages. Create a positive environment for when students come in. When students come in, you can already create a positive environment. Good morning, class. How are you? Or you can already observe them. You can notice them. Being noticed is making them feel like they are really welcome as well. Create a safe environment for sharing. Like they feel like when they share something, when they open up something, they make sure that it will not go out. So whatever that was being shared inside your classroom must not go outside. Okay, when your students shared confidential things that only you as their teacher knew, or like, because when they knew that you as their teacher not being trusted will make a mark for them that they will not share anymore. So how can you help them if they will not share anymore, or if they will not feel safe, right? So that's it. Just make everything confidential. Go for quantity, boost your students' confidence, encourage creativity and curiosity, build in some one-on-one time with each student. So despite of the quantity, despite of the students you have, you should always accept them, whether they are too many, like when they are 40. So don't like complain about it. Just help them, or think about ways how you can think about ways how you can handle them. So you have to boost their confidence, even those just appreciating, giving them motivations, or giving them noticing their small achievements, their small victories, like that can boost their confidence if you can motivate them. Encourage creativity and curiosity to the students by helping them, providing hands-on activities, experiential learning, situated learning. Right. So you can also have a one-on-one talk with your student so that they can also share, or you can like remedial like activities for them. You can have those. By that you can not just create a welcoming community, but stronger relationship to your students. Next, we have to begin with strengths. So we have to begin with strengths. When you say strengths, it's about their talents, their capabilities, their abilities. Those are their strengths. Which are they, what aspects are they good? What subjects do they excel? And that way, you can see their strengths. Okay, we can assess whether they excel here, whether they need more improvement here, or this talent needs to be more to be discovered. Okay, so one of the best ways to think about the students is students you support is to look through the lens of his or her strengths. As teachers, we should not look about the things that they are weak. Okay, they all have their weaknesses, but their strengths are more powerful than their weaknesses. Okay, their weaknesses makes up their strengths. So as teachers, you have to look through their lens. You have to discover through your activities, throughout your inside and outside your classroom. You can observe whether this child is or this child excel more in mathematics. Those are just some part of strengths. Now you have to ask yourself the following questions: what can this student do? This student can maybe she excel in drawing, even though she can't really bear math that much, but she excelled in arts, like that. What are the person's talents? What are this person's strengths? How would a parent who deeply loves his student speak about him or her? Okay, so especially when you talk with the parents, you can ask them, because some child are different. They are different inside their home, and inside their classroom, because somehow like they have their friends inside the classroom, they have their teacher, or sometimes they feel safe inside the classroom than their home, or they lack attention at home but they have more attention inside the classroom. So you have to take notice about those things. After that, you have to take a moment to develop a list of your learners' strengths, gifts, and interests. So you have to list down so that you as a teacher know where to target that student, where to improve, how to improve, and how can you enhance them as their teacher. How can you help them and attain their needs? Next we have here is to begin with their strengths, top 10 student strengths. So maybe the students are good in planning or they're good in organization. They pass the deadlines and they are more organized with their things. Okay, they prioritize, they have the scheduler, or maybe they are independent. They can learn independently. Like you're going to give them activities and they don't need guidance anymore. Okay, they can do it on their own. Now, critical thinking, they can analyze information, they can reason out, they can solve problems, or even creativity. Are they good in arts? Can they generate novel ideas, or they can find innovative solutions? Now we have communication skills. Are they good in talking? Are they smart in presenting information concisely, accurately, or are they listening actively, respecting others' opinions, like that? Or are they good in collaborative skills? Do they have the social skills, interactive skills, that they can help their peers to work effectively in a group? They can contribute to the peace inside your classroom and support group manners, or their dependability. Okay, like they fulfill their obligations, they follow through, they comply with your procedure, like that. Persistence and resilience, maybe they handle disappointment well, they overcome obstacles, or they are more focused, or they stay on focusing their goals. Like they are really persistent and resilient to challenges. Strong work ethic, maybe they put extra effort in their work, in their outputs. They diligently impose own standards of excellence, or they take full responsibility, or they take full ownership of their performance and results. Now we have also leadership skills. Maybe the child loves to lead or to motivate and inspire others. He or she notices things that needs are the problems with his or her classmates, or even you as their teacher, as their teacher, he or she can saw things that maybe you have a problem, and that way they can lead the classroom, or they can persuade, they can build strong relationships, or they can manage to make solutions inside the classroom. So in that way, maybe they are good in that skill. So because we have multiple intelligence theory by Howard Gardner, in which every child excels in different intelligences. The third one we have is to make learning active and participatory. Now we have here activity-based learning. Now first things first is what is activity-based learning? From the word activity-based, learners with various educational needs and learning styles. So you should create some activities that will match different learning styles and different learners. Okay, different educational needs. Okay, when you say activity, you are providing, you're thinking what or which activities is it more suitable to them, that will really satisfy their needs. So one of the gifts that students with disabilities can bring to the classroom is to highlight the need to use more active, participatory, creative approaches to learning. Okay? Now, with the students with disabilities, they can bring to the classroom they can bring to the classroom active and participatory learning. Why? Because they need to be what? They have to be active because their attention span is very small or very little, in which when you are just talking and you're just the one making it, they feel bored and they sometimes throw tantrums, or they feel like they are really not interested in it, right? That's it. Now, when we say activity-based learning, this is just simply creating tasks. You can create activities, situational activities, or other instructional ways that will guide the students to acquire, to understand, and to apply new information and apply those skills that will help them in their studies and in their lives. Okay, like even just a simple activity, for them it's just an activity, it's just a play, maybe a play, but those activity that you input in them will remain in their heads and will make them feel like they really understand and embody the concept, because through experiences they can, it it takes time, or maybe those experiences will not be forgotten inside their minds. Then when you are done, the teacher is just talking, maybe after dismissal they can already forget what you taught them. Instead of giving them activities, they can still remember that. Even when they go home, they can tell that to their parents, that mom, we did the coloring activity and it was so nice because we draw the sun, we drew the moon, and we learned to appreciate the nature of beauty that God gave. Okay, in that manner they can apply what they learn, or they can really understand the concepts inside them. So ABL expects learners not just to think, but to do and to feel. Okay, those activities will really help them not just to be engaged, but for them to gain knowledge as well through activities. It involves them practically, personally, and socially, because those activities are not individual. There are individual activities, but there are also collaborative activities, or there are also pair. Like in that manner, they can share with their thoughts, they can share with their talents, and they can even learn with their peers. Okay? The research is clear that children learn better when they learn with all five senses. When they hear, and when they see, when they hear, when they talk, when they feel, and when they taste something. So they learn mostly when they are using the five senses, not just this one, but those five senses. They can handle and apply their lessons, and they are motivated with clear sense of purpose. Now in that way, when you're going to give them activities, they can learn better and they can apply their lessons with, for example, like taking care of plants. So you have an activity there for them to really demonstrate how to take care of plants carefully. And in that manner, when they went home, they feel like, mom, the plants really need waters, we need to take care of the plants, and that. And not just that, but they are also motivated with a purpose. So you hit your purpose for them to be motivated to learn, that they feel like learning is not boring, but learning is active and fun. Like this in the picture, as you can see in the picture, the child is the one doing it, right? There is like a cup or a container, which there are numbers. When you put there's one, so how many fish is he going to put? How many fish is he going to put into? Like even just this simple activity, it will retain in their minds. Okay, even this activity can be applied real life. Okay, when the child went home, he wants to count how many spoons needed in the kitchen for them to eat, how many socks does he have. Those are just some simple activities that will really help them retain their learning. Next, we have make school events inclusive. We already know what's inclusive, right? Inclusive is welcoming, or like welcoming, accepting everyone despite of their differences, or despite of the traditions, ethics, race, age, gender, Those are just some things, okay? No discrimination or zero discrimination. Even though you have different skin color or different backgrounds, different status, you are welcome. Now, when it comes to school events, as teachers, we should also create events that will help everyone, okay? Especially um our students with special needs, okay? They can interact and they feel like they are really welcome, like they feel like, why is it we're not allowed to join this? Like they will not create something in their mind that they feel like they do not belong, okay? You will just say as a teacher, okay, just stay there because you cannot enter, you cannot join this activity because maybe your tummy will hurt or your body will hurt. No. So even you as a teacher, you know their capabilities, they know their backgrounds. So as a teacher, you must ensure, think critically what events is suitable for everyone. Like they meet halfway. Okay? Avoid bias. Okay, a school can support inclusive culture through school-wide opportunities and activities provided for its students. In an inclusive school, events and activities appeal to diverse students and accessible to everyone. That's what I already said a while ago, that it must be accessible to all of them. Like you should not filter them out when they went there inside the facility or in an event. These are just the things that you are allowed to enter. You have this card. These are the things you have to enter. No, so as teachers, you have to be inclusive because because they are all children and they feel like when they saw some children that can enter there, they feel like, why is it I cannot enter there? Do I have a problem, or am I not allowed there because of my things like this, like that? It can create a barrier. Then let's avoid that barrier and let them socialize with everybody, because there are a lot of benefits that could help them. Okay, like for example, this one and the pictures that I've shown, they are racing. Okay, they use their wheelchairs to have a race to run. Okay, their classmates pushing them. In that way, all of them participated, or all of them are having fun. This one as well on the left side, the children are doing activities. They are doing some puzzles alongside with their peers that is having special needs, okay, or having difficulty in walking, like that. And despite all of that, every children can join. There is no student left behind. Okay. I hope that you understand well, and as teachers or even not teachers, as future teachers, you must embody and inculcate these ways in how you could create an inclusive community, classroom culture, inside and outside. And that would be all for my part. Thank you so much for listening, and I do hope that you can apply that in real life.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am the continuation of the report of Group 2. We are two reporters right now, but Miss Dana Bashir cannot report because pag mag-story siya mo sakit iyahang dugan. But she also prepared a written report and PPT. And our topic for today is all about some useful ways to create an inclusive culture inside and outside of your classroom. Of course, we all know that there's a lot of diverse students that we are going to deal in the near future. That's why we created this, in order for you to know what are the ways in order for you to create an inclusive culture in your future classroom or in your future students in the near future. There are 7 some useful ways to create an inclusive culture inside or outside of your classroom. The first one is define clear minimum standard for behavior. Of course, you need to create a classroom rules or classroom standards in order for your students to follow. But take note, you are just not creating a classroom rules for your own sake, but also you need to get the approve of the students if gusto pud da nila na classroom rules to feel that dili lang imuhang gusto ang masunod. And the second one is deal with the low level disruption in a sensitive way. Of course, we cannot deny the fact na ang mga estudyante students yun na sila, mga children pa na sila. They created a misbehavior movements na makakause og away sa students to student to teacher, but a future educator, you need to deal with that in a sensitive way. You need to call out the students in a specific area. For example, in the sa table nimo, you need to talk the students na mali iyang gibuhat. You need to say that in a proper way. You need to talk to them that mali na imong gibuhat. You need to improve that misbehavior of yours, but dili siya in a specific classroom jud daghay makadungog sa iyahang mali na buhat in order for her or his na dili ma-feel na grabe gyud ay nako kadautan na pagkabata. No, not in that way, but in a sensitive way na ma-feel sa students na dili gina-invalidate the teacher ang feelings. The third one is create opportunity to listen to all children. Of course, each student has a background, different backgrounds, different perspectives in life, different thoughts. As a future educator, you need to listen. You need to listen to them. You need to be open to them to share na comfortable ko kang teacher kay ma-share na ko tanan, so that they can easily be comfortable with you. They can easily share their knowledge with you. For example of that, you can talk to them that what happened in your day, what the things you like the most. Example of that. That is the example of how you can create opportunity to listen to your children or to your students. The fourth one, be aware of the specific needs of every child in your classroom. Of course, there are different needs of individuals, right? For example, you have a students that naa siya hearing impairment, visual impairment. With that, you can call out the student to sit in the front if they have a visual impairment, so that they can easily see the topic, so that they can easily grasp the topic. You need to be open to them and to learn what are their needs that you are going to cater of. The number 5 is provide support for them in a ways that benefit all children in the class. So as a future educator, you need to identify your student, if they are tactile learners, if they are audio learners, if they are visual learners. You need to create a lesson that can benefit all of them, not just by the audio learners. So that, for example, we all know that instructional materials are one of the best ways so that the students can easily grasp the topic. In order for you to cater all the children, you need to improve the font style, the picture, the audio, so that each learners can easily grasp the topic and all of them can understand the topic. The sixth one is let children choose how to show what they have learned. Of course, this area you need to find, or you need to implement the differentiated instruction, because we all know each student has a weaknesses and strength. In order for you to give the children a open, if you are going to give the children open area so that they can show their strength, you need to focus the differentiated instruction. If they are good at writing, then choose them write. If they are not too good at singing, then let your guts to improve that area. You need to teach them how to sing, how to dance, because that is the role of a future educator. The seventh one, or the last one, is don't compare the progress of one children to another, because we all know that each of one of us is different from one another. The way we learn, the way we teach is different from another. In order for you to have a innovative or this area is innovative, you need to choose, or you are not going to compare them, but to inspire them to do more or to improve this area that they are not good, so that they can feel na ginatabangan ko ni teacher, si teacher kay dili gina-invalidate ako ang weaknesses, but si teacher kay gina-encourage ko niya to do more. And that is the example of the some ways and how to create an inclusive classroom inside or outside in your area or in the classroom. Now, you already know what are the some ways or useful ways to create an inclusive culture inside your classroom or outside your classroom. And now, let's talk about what is the benefits of the useful ways to create an inclusive culture in a specific classroom. Because now, we all know that if you already implemented that, then there are benefits. There are a lot of benefits with that, and let's talk about it. First benefits is help all students reach their full potential. Of course, if we implemented the inclusive culture, then we can give them we can address their full potential, or we can address their goals in life, because they already have the equal access to education that will help them to gain or to reach their goals in life. The second one is create a culture of acceptance and understanding. These students can easily know that they are different from one another, their backgrounds, their thoughts, their preference in life. And with that, if we implemented the inclusive culture, then they can accept, even though they are different, they learn, or they already know that even though they are different, they are equally in the specific culture you created. The third one is build friendship and bonds between classmates. Of course, if they already accept their differences, then they can easily be friends to one another, because there is no bats, or there is no barriers between them. Fourth benefit is increased self-esteem and confidence among students. Of course, if you already know that you are accepted for who you are, then you can easily share to them what are your backgrounds, what are your experiences, without hesitation na i-judge ka nila. And the fifth one is improve social skills among students. Of course, if you know that all of you is different from one another, of course, you can easily be friends with them without the judgment. And that would be all to my report. Bye.